All right, we can start now. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Similarly, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but only a handful of them endures the pain, spend sleepless nights, do what it takes to be one. So I, Himadri, along with Sakshi, on behalf of Enure, the entrepreneurship cell, are here with one such example with us. Mr. Aditya Arora, the CEO of Pard Network Private Limited, a very young but perceived entrepreneur, a man who went in all to achieve his ambitions, a man who followed his instincts and ultimately emerged as a leader. Before we move ahead and listen to Aditya's story, let me brief you about Fard Network. It is a leading investor-based network that assists early-age startups in raising capital through its networks of angel investors, HNIs, VC firms, family offices, and debt funding professionals. Now, I would like to hand over to Mr. Aditya to tell us what is the mantra to be you. Over to you, Aditya.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Himadri, just an audio check. Can you hear me right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you guys, first of all, in your for having me and the entire organizing team behind this. It takes a lot of efforts to conduct an event. So, of course, a real pleasure to be here amongst all of you. And I know to the audience as well, the reason I'm saying thank you to you, first of all, is because I know I'm the last speaker. You listen to every speaker before me. And it's very difficult to be till the last one. I know I've been on that side of the table. So thank you so much. You guys are here. I'll try and make it as interactive, as interesting as I can. And of course, we'll be taking more of your questions because I believe questions and discussions are more important than monologues. So that's I guess the first mantra that I follow whenever I go and speak at an event. So yeah, that's of course what we're speaking about today. So for the first 20-25 minutes, I think I have about an hour with me. So for the first 20 minutes, I think 20-25 minutes, I'll walk you through, guys, through a couple of stories that in my life, which eventually talks about what I did, why I did, and how I did. And then, of course, towards the later half of the session, we can take in all your questions, your suggestions, your feedback. So of course, the only thing that I want from you guys is to be very active and to, of course, enjoy as much as you can. And then that's the only mantra that I think you should follow. So yeah, without further ado, I think the topic of today is debut as an entrepreneur, right? It's a French term which talks about how are you debuting as an entrepreneur. And then it further goes and talks about let's start the startup upside down. So two things, right? Every entrepreneur that of course becomes an entrepreneur is not always born as an entrepreneur. Some entrepreneurs do make their debut once they come out in real life. So that's the first thing. And second thing is that whenever you have to start from scratch, right? Gone are the days when people say, okay, this person must have had a silver spoon in their hands. A lot of entrepreneurs these days are first generation entrepreneurs, are people who have not had any entrepreneurial history in their backgrounds. So all are first generation entrepreneurs solving problems from scratch, building valuations from scratch, and building companies from scratch. I think that's the second most important thing, right? And I'm glad to share that I fall on the second side of the table where I'm also a first generation entrepreneur, turned investor now, and no one from my, of course, my near to dear family is an entrepreneur. Now that is exciting, but comes with its own challenges because the very first thing that parents ask you is, why do you want to become an entrepreneur? Well, why do you not want to go to do your masters, your MBA, your civil services, or maybe go for a high profile job? Why do you not want to do that? And for me, answering that question was even tough because I went to my dream college. So I went to Shri College of Business Studies to study finance. And of course, the very reason I went there towards was to get a placement in the first place because a new college was offering 100% placements. And the average package was 6.5 lakhs. So consider a fresher having a 100% guarantee almost of a placement and average package of 6.5 lakhs. Even if you're a mediocre student, I think you would get yourself a good enough career to begin with. But I say no to it. I say I don't want to do it, right? And the reason I say it because a couple of things. I went to this college called, of course, it's this College of Business Studies. Now the name Business Studies comes in the college name itself. So you might be wondering that it's a college which is producing a tremendous amount of entrepreneurs. I think that's not the case, right? No one in my batch was doing a startup, right? And then I was very perplexed, as in these are the brightest minds of the country who've given an entrance exam, who've given a group discussion, and personal interview, God knows what. They've been selected in, like, they were just 21 seats. They've been selected from the country, and they've been selected to study in a business college. But why are they not doing business, right? Why are they not even exploring business? And that was one of the strangest of things I found in my college. I saw that there was there was a huge line outside the placement room in my college, but the entrepreneurship cell in my college was fairly empty, right? And I used to just go there, sit, and think what to do next. So yeah, what I end up doing is that I thought that, okay, I'll not pursue the conventional path. The first year in college is all about freedom, right? Where you can, your internships are not compulsory, or you're not getting placed, you're not getting, of course, MBA offer in first year. So college is all about exploration and experimentation, and first year is more towards that. So I thought I'll experiment and explore. And there, of course, this company comes into my college by the name of FARD, right? I was very, very fascinated by the name. I was like, I just want to know what this company does, and I want to sit in their interview, because the people who've kept the name as their company as FARD must be the coolest people on the planet, and I want to meet them, even if I'm not selected. That's the pack that I had from myself. So what happened was, eventually on that interview internship day, I was not available. I was outside from college. I was out there for some competition. In fact, if I remember, I was in KMC itself for a competition. So now I missed the interview. But of course, I took the business card of the company, and approached them offline and say, I want to interview with you. And of course, they gave me the standard reply. Do you know what are startups, and what is all entrepreneurship is about? And I was like, nothing, but I've done one startup idea before. And they said, what was that startup idea? And I was like, in school, I followed an idea wherein, and this is something you guys will like. So I did one thing in school. I partnered up with the canteen vendor, because canteen vendor was not able to sell things. Okay. So I partnered up with him and said, I will give you 60 students daily, right? 60 students guaranteed daily. And how I used to do that, I was a classroom monitor, and I used to, when the class was in assembly, I used to come back from behind and eat the lunches as much as I can of my classmates. And now when I ate all their lunches, they had no other option but to go to the canteen person and ask for food. That's how that was my first entrepreneurship venture, by the way, right? Which was about taking a problem, solving it. And this is the reply that I gave to the founders, to my co-founders and now partners at FARD. And the first reply they got was, "Man, you are something, right? You are something. No one has come up to us and explored this idea." And I was like, "Sir, there is always a first. So maybe, yeah, definitely I'll forward you my resume and let me know if you want to interview me." I forward my resume, and I'm called for an interview. Now I was in a very fun, chill mode. The guys are very chill. But now the interview that I entered, 5 minutes later in the interview, I figure out that it's a stress interview. They are trying to, like, literally squeeze me and ask me very, very stressful and very, very insightful, stimulating questions. The very first question they asked me, what is bootstrapping? And I was like, I don't know the answer to this question. I think it's I would answer it as, bootstrapping is tying your own shoelaces. Like, that's how you strap a boot, right? Tie your own shoelaces. And say that's not the answer. I said, I know that's not the answer, but I had to answer something to cut the awkward silence. And they were like, okay. And they asked questions, right? Kept on asking questions. What is venture capital? What is valuation? How do you do valuation? What are the 5 different methods of valuation? What are the different rounds of funding in a startup, right? What is the difference between a startup and a business? Now, these are the questions that I answered these days to in MBA colleges. But of course, at that point of time, I did not even know the answer to any one of them, not even near to knowing the answer. So, of course, I was almost sobbing at the end of the interview. I was almost crying within myself. But there is one thing I think that I said. I don't know the answers to these questions, but I'll come back and I'll find the answers to the question. And the reason I said internship. That's the first myth, right? Internships in college or internships anywhere, you're not expected to know everything, right? The very purpose of an internship is so that you can learn and experience things, right? So I gave that answer. It's an internship interview, sir. I don't know the answer to most of the questions, but I'm able to I'll be more than happy and willing to learn the answers to all these questions, right? So I thought that of course I would be chucked out of the interview, right? Because there are so many batchmates. There are so many of my batchmates who are much more capable than me, who are much more knowledgeable and intelligent than me, who can answer this, who would have answered all these questions, and they did, right? And there was just one person to be selected in FAR. There was just one vacancy, and there were about 200 students. So I was like, no chance I would be there. But 2 weeks after that, I get a call from the founders at FAR. Say, Aditya, you were selected in the company. And I was like, sir, this is a very good joke. Please do try it the next time. I know I'm not selected. So they were like, no, boss, you are. Just come to the office once. And I went to the office and I was physically checking that, okay, have I been selected? Where is my offer letter, right? Where is the stipend that and I wanted to ask what would be my stipend and everything, right? I went to the office. The office was in Saket in South Delhi. I ended up missing my college that day because that was in East Delhi. In fact, my whole life has been about traveling the whole inside of Delhi. So I went to the college. I went to my office. Sorry, I go inside the room and I figure out that the office is very, very small. It's just one single small rented room. And in that small rented room, and I asked them, I said, sir, let's go to office. I think that's like we have met here. Let's go to the office. And they said, this is the office. This room is our office. These are this is just where at max 3 to 4 people can sit. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, what would be my stipend? And they would say, it would be nothing. Because you don't know anything about startups. You will be learning, in fact. So it's all based on passion and learning, and you'll not be getting any stipend. And I was like, it's very odd, right? You come to CBS, you've got a very good rank. I got a very good All India national rank. But now you're not even pursuing MBA or jobs. You're not even pursuing startup properly. You are pursuing an internship where you're not getting paid. And then also that office is such a small single rented room, just one room, and you had like no other thing. And I don't know what happened inside me, but I said yes to the internship. And again, the most challenging part was that the internship, the 2 months of my internship was that I will find answers to all the questions that I know that I did not answer in the interview, sorry, right? And that was my internship. And I asked them, why are you making me do this? Can't you hire a better candidate? Why are you making me learn all of this? Why did you select me in the first place? They answered it in a very simple, clear, crystal terms. That what we checked that day was your patience and your determination, right? In that whole 1.5 hour interview, you literally had 5 minutes of content to speak, but you still sat there smiling and accepting that you don't know the answers to these questions. And that is what we look for in an entrepreneur. That if they don't know answer to these questions, they don't back out. They stand there, they hold their ground, and they find the answers to all the questions. And that's what you tried and did. You never worried about what would happen next. You never got emotional. You were standing there, you were firm with yourself, and you held your ground. And I think that is something that we respect. And then that's when I realized that I would work with this company where founders, my partners, actually value people over business plans, actually value people over best of answers or best of people. That's when I made sure and I realized that I'll work with FAR. So next 2 years, I interned at FAR. Again, the struggle was real. As in, I was learning a lot, but then I was barely earning anything. And in fact, the struggle was so much that we used to even sometimes had difficulties to put food on the table for all of us. And also, since it was a one single small room, most of the times I remember I had to stand outside my office in heat or in cold, because if there was a meeting, someone had to stand out because there were just 3 people to sit. So of course, both my partners had to do the meeting and I had to stand out. So of course, I've been through that days. I think I've been through that struggle quite a lot. But again, what transpired me was something that I'll end up learning all these things, and the desire to learn, the desire to prosper. I think that is what continued in me. The next 2-3 months, I find answers to all the questions, and then I'm given another internship. I'm given a part-time offer at Ford. This is again a non-paid offer, and then I'm told that I have to interview entrepreneurs. And I was like, this is again still not finance. I'm still not doing finance, learning finance. I'm just doing beating around the bush. And I said, why are you not giving me finance? They're saying you still don't know the human value of entrepreneurship. You know the textual value, the theoretical value, but you don't understand humans right now. And we're giving you this thing because you would want to talk to entrepreneurs and understand their human psyche. What makes an entrepreneur actually, right? Is it just a solid business plan or an idea, or is it the values and emotions behind the people? I think that's the latter. The values and emotions is what someone makes an entrepreneur. And that's what I did. The next 1.5 years of my life, I traveled to various places inside, outside Delhi, and interviewed with entrepreneurs. And I asked them single straight things. What makes you an entrepreneur? And why did you fail in your life? Why did you fail in your life? As in, what made you fail in your life? Why did you choose entrepreneurship, right? Why did you not go for another safe or stable career choice? Why did you end up doing entrepreneurship? That was a straight standard set of 2-3 questions that I asked from people. And I condense all of that, I put that into blogs, and I publish that for FAR. Slowly and steadily, talking to entrepreneurs one-on-one, I published almost around 150 blogs in the next 1.5 years, right? Now those blogs became so popular, they started appearing on various social media. Those blogs also became so popular, they started appearing on Economic Times, on Your Stories, Inc42s, all these business magazines, prominent business magazines. And I understand now the human side of entrepreneurship, where I understand that entrepreneurship is not just about business plan, guys. It's about the human side of things. It's about the passion, which is there behind the numbers, there behind the data. So I, of course, now work with FAR. I started working for part-time, and of course, towards the end of my college, I was doing a lot of things with FAR. I was hosting events for FAR. I was writing stories for FAR. I was picking up companies for fundraising for FAR. In fact, the first company that I picked up for FAR was a company named Kirori, which is an optical eyewear retail brand. That company had no investors. We invested 5 lakhs in that company. And slowly and steadily from 5 lakhs, that transaction size grew so much that we ended up making 7 times the return on our capital, 7 times the return on capital in the next 2 years, right? So again, the reason I chose that company still, and the only reason I found myself choosing that company was of the passion. I saw that passion, I saw that vision, and that vision was mixed with intelligence, was mixed with vision to succeed. And I pick up that company. The reason now, at the end of the college, I have now with FAR, of course, conducted about 60 events. I've published almost about 300 stories. Me, myself, and a team of bloggers. The next thing what we do, of course, we picked up 5 companies for funding. We funded all the 5 companies. And of course, for all of that, I became the company. So it was quite long, quite a delightful journey from starting out as an intern, an unpaid intern, that too, and then becoming, of course, the CEO of the company. And now I continue to be the CEO for FAR. And from 5 companies in 2019, we funded almost 26 companies just last year itself. So fairly active now in terms of funding companies. Most of our companies have gone ahead and raised tremendous amounts of capital, not only from prominent angel investors, but from Bollywood celebrities as well. And from not even having a 1 single rupee to now managing a portfolio of almost 300 crores. I think, come a long way since then. But the only thing I think which helped me was to have that passion for learning and to prove that wrong, that I do know the answers to this question. I do know what bootstrapping is, and I would definitely find the answer. That is what the one of the stories that I wanted to share with you. There have been multiple stories, but of course, in the wake of time, I'll share this one. Found this one to be the most exciting one. But only the key lessons here are, I think, and then I'll open up the stage for questions. The first point talks about that age is just a number, but what you do with that age is what that matters, right? You can't be that I'm 17 years old, I'm 18 years old, I'm very young right now. Okay, what would happen in life. I am taking so much stress and load. I think you start doing in that mindset, you never emerge out as a leader. Because every time then, guys, you are waiting for something to happen in your life, something to come towards you, and then you can plan to accept it or reject it. That's not how you live life as leaders. I think if you want to live life as leaders, the best way is to create opportunities and to grab opportunities at the right time, right? Don't evaluate opportunities so much. If I would have sensed far that, okay, it's not giving me money, it's not a very big company, it's barely having anything in hand, it's a fresh company, even we are the guys are not from IIT or IIMs. If I would have looked at all of that, I'm a CB side, I should go for Deloitte's of the world. In fact, I had Deloitte as my internship option as well. I should go for that. If I would have figured all of that, I would have never become an entrepreneur today. For me, following the passion or exploring myself was way greater than money that followed, or was way greater than the other opportunities. So the opportunity cost would always be there, but I think there is no better opportunity cost than following your own passion. So yeah, follow your own passion. And the second thing I want to discuss with you is the lesson from this whole story is that it's very important to be at the right time at the right place with the right people, right? Sometimes luck also plays a role. And if it's not luck, I think just smartness and intelligence does not take you everywhere. Smartness, intelligence mixed with some amount of luck is also important. So you have to trust your instincts and just hope that you are lucky. Just hope that everything is destined for you, right? I've always been that sort of person, and I know how childish it may sound. It has worked for me. So sometimes believe in luck, believe that whatever is happening for you is happening for a reason, and just go with the flow, right? And make sure everything that you do, you work very, very hard to manage that flow. You work very, very hard to change that flow. You work hard to create your own destiny as well. But sometimes just accept what is there in front of you, right? And don't think about a lot of things too much. The last thing is how to convince your parents. Again, that's the most important thing. I think the one piece of puzzle that I did not talk about was convincing my parents. How to convince your parents? I think how I did, I figured out a wager with my parents that if I become an entrepreneur, a successful one, you will not force me to do anything else in life. But if I don't become, I'll do whatever you want me to do in life. I think doing that, what it did was instilling the confidence. It instilled the confidence in my parents' mind as well. I think that I want to become an entrepreneur. And second thing, what it did, the most important thing is I bought time for myself. And any career to come out successfully is always bought on time. So buy time for yourself, give your time to explore that passion. First of all, figure out your passion, because if you don't figure out your passion, none of this would matter, right? So figure out a passion, figure out where your destination is, and then drive the car or the jet accordingly, right? There'll be challenges, there'll be bumps, there'll be potholes, but again, it would, once you go there, it would all matter. All of that does add up, and all of that does matter, and all of that does make you a lot successful. So just all the best with whatever you do, and happy to take questions.
Thank you, sir, for your mesmerizing words. Now we'll proceed further and take up a few questions as students are eagerly waiting for your response. So beginning with the most requested question from the audience. So here we have hundreds of people in the audience with millions of ideas to become billionaires. But one thing stops them, that is money. So they want to know how to get investment and precisely Pad's investment.
So, see, money is, a lot of you may be surprised to know that money is not the most important aspect for any idea to fruition. 70% of the ideas fail, and this is backed by a study I'm saying. 70% of the ideas fail today because they don't have the right kind of idea behind them. Either it's too early in the market, it's too late, or either their idea is not too big, it's not structured in the right format. So having that right idea and that right team is also important. And the next 20% startups fail because they're not able to get a right team around it. If you don't have a right team around you, where will you put all your money? Who will utilize all the money, right? So 90% of the startups don't fail because of money. Only 5 to 7% of the startups fail because of money. But I'll answer the question. The 7% of the startups fail because of money is because they don't approach to the right investors. A lot of students I see on a daily basis on my LinkedIn, on my Instagram, messaging, sir, please give money, please give money. But it's practically difficult for me to give money to everyone, right? And that's what investors also have limited capacity. For us, it's very difficult to choose because everyone says we have passion. So if everyone has passion, then we have limited capital. We can't give it to everyone, right? So the best way is that once your idea is starting, try and bootstrap it. Now, bootstrap is not tying your shoelaces, but bootstrap is running your own company through internal financing. Put all the money that you can do on from your own pocket. Utilize money from your friends, family, right? Other near and dear ones as well. And then put that money behind startups. That's one way of not going to an angel investor early on. Second is go to any accelerator, any incubator, anything, anyone, right? So accelerator incubators are in colleges, are in institutions which help to provide as low as 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, and they take almost 5% or 10% equity against that, right, of your company against that, right? So go to those people because those people are specifically meant to help you at an idea stage. Angel investors, people like Fard come in way later when your idea is already out there in the market, you're already earning revenue out of it. So in early stage, go to friends, family, and as I say, foods as well, friends, family, and go to incubators, accelerators, go to government. Government gives grant money to a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, or bootstrap through your own pocket, through your own finance. That's one of the good way to build an early stage company. And then once you are out there in the market earning revenue, come to folks like us, come to me, come to FAR. And then of course, it's much better time for us to evaluate whether to invest in you guys or not.
True. So the next question is, how important is the role of a team? As most of the people confine the idea and power to oneself. So according to you, it's good or not?
See guys, team is the most important factor in a startup because team is one thing which will not change, right? I can't change Aditya as a person, right? Although Aditya's business can change, its market can change, its technology can change, its revenue can change, its numbers can change. But Aditya as a person can't change. The passion and the vision with which he's building a company should be the same, right? That's what we look for in entrepreneurs. That what's their passion, vision, and are they actually competent enough? Do they really feel uh, close to the problem? A lot of times, entrepreneurs are trying to solve problem in which they don't relate. Next time, trying to solve a problem which basically cures cancer, right? Uh, let's say around that. But maybe I would not relate to that problem as much as someone who's been on the other side of the table. So what we look for is how close the person is a part of the problem. Because the closer the person is part of the problem, the better he or she can solve it because they understand the whole nuances of it, right? So that's why it's important to, of course, have that right understanding to solve the problem. Be passionate, be interested, folks. That you are not there for money, you are in here for a longer term. I think those are the founders I personally love putting my money behind.
All right. Someone from the audience wants to know how to get angel investors to a plan which is pre-tested and in a pre-stage of a startup and not tested yet in the market.
See again, angel investors, best time to approach an angel investor is a concept which is out there in the market and is being tested in some format. Because angel investment, see guys, our capital is so risky. You guys look at it from a startup point of view. I want you to think from an investor's viewpoint. Consider you have limited amounts of money and you would want to put money behind something which is not even tested yet, which we don't even know will have a even 1% chance of working or not. Of course, the risk would be there in startups, but in such kind of transaction, the risk is even higher. So, would you yourself put money that easily in someone? No, you would not, right? Because there's a risk that your capital may never come, you would lose the money. So now, as investors as well, we have that perspective that we want ideas to at least be out there and tested in some format, and then only put capital because we are also, I am also putting myself, my money and others' money as well. So I would want to be sure that, of course, wherever capital we are putting in the best deal, we are putting in the best transaction where our risks are a bit on the lower side. I would not say least because startups are the riskiest. A bit on the lower side, and the returns, the guarantee of returns are, I think, a bit higher. So, yeah.
True. So next question is, sir, that now you are an angel investor and you have your hand on many startups. But in your initial stage, how did you go about funding?
Again, in the initial stage, it was very difficult to, of course, understand about funding. Firstly, funding in itself is such an important activity for a company that if it's not done in the right manner, it sometimes threatens the sustainability of the company, right? So it has to be planned meticulously well to the finest details. So of course, knowing the whole process of funding from an end of student is it's the toughest task as well. It's a very tough task as well. But I, of course, that is something that you gain by doing a lot of deals. Now I've done almost 30 plus deals. So of course, now I know that it works like naturally to me. I can do that. But early on, it was tough. What we did was we met with a lot of investors and we did a lot of pitch events. So we invited startups, we invited investors at one place, we made them sat together, we ordered nice food and pizzas for them, and we learned for 1.5 years. We just learned from them that how does this whole process work, what questions investor ask to the startups. So I've been in the rooms of investors 1.5 years of my life just to hear what are the questions investor ask, right? How do they evaluate a startup? What kind of startup, what kind of reservation startup has when they're talking to investors. So we did those events like that for a good 1.5 years of my life, and that's how we slowly and steadily gained. We did not have capital ourselves initially. We were allocating capital of other people. So this is the startup, this is the investor. You guys can meet. We'll arrange the meeting. We'll have the coffee is on us, the pizza is on us. We'll be sitting in the room and just observing, and we'll be closing the transaction. We'll be facilitating both communication from both the sides and closing this. We still do that, but now we put our own capital too. But early on, we learned a lot. I learned personally myself, I learned a lot just by doing this. So I think, yeah, that is how you should start if you want to start as an investor. Follow reading blogs, follow looking at other investors, how do they make investments. Ask them the right questions that what do they look at while making investment. That's how you learn.
Okay. Aditya wants to know how we can do internship in FAD and how to reach out.
So right now, Aditya, in fact, we already just closed our, since we are almost starting May, so we closed our internship period sometime before. So this time, I think not directly. If you want to guys work directly with FAD, I think not right now possible because we're hiring for full time. So we're looking at jobs right now more than internships. But what you can personally do is, and what this is what I do with a lot of students who come and approach to me, because a lot of you guys want to work with me, but of course in a company as well we can't have everyone working, right? So what I do is that you guys can connect with me either on, of course, LinkedIn or on Instagram, right? And if you guys want to learn more about funding, more about investing, I have a few resources which I share with people, a few reports, a few ways of doing about angel investment. You guys can work with me. You guys can send across your CV, and of course, if you guys want to learn more about angel investments, you want to you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and just hit that, sir, I'm interested to know more about, or Aditya, you can write, Aditya, I'm interested to know more about this. I'm more than happy to help you in whatever capacity I can.
True. So Rocky wants to know that his friend has a startup idea. They just have an idea. They don't have an action plan. So he wants to know that should I become a part of it or not?
Okay, that's a very subjective thing. First of all, friendships actually are important to execute, but more than that, you should be practical because you should also look at yourself as well. So just don't go within the flow of friendship. If you find merit in the idea, if you think your friend is passionate to solve it, passionate, has the right kind of vision to solve it as well, then go ahead. Why not? As in, go ahead, and plan of action is always developed slowly and steadily. You don't develop it on the first day. So go ahead with the idea, and if you think, but only that is something that you have to take the decision. I can't make that for you. Only if you think you that a friend has the conviction to solve it, can solve it, and you feel confident, then only go it. Trust your instincts. Like go with your gut. That's how we do it.
So Aditi wants to know what are the aspects that you consider while investing in a startup?
In fact, this is something in which I have made a reel on Instagram as well. So you guys can check out there, in which I talked about this in very minute details. But just to repeat, we talk about 5 T's of investing. So we talk about team, the most important aspect, technology, what kind of technology you are building, traction, what is the traction or your performance, right? How many users are there? How much is your revenue? How people are accepting your product or service? Then we look at target market. What's your target market? Are you targeting millennials? Are you targeting senior citizens? Are you targeting middle-aged group people? Who's your target market? And then we look at the last we call terms, investing terms. This is for us. That what are the investing terms that you offer to investors, right? Are the right terms? Are they at the right value for your startup? Right valuation for your startup? Yeah, this is what we answer. This is what we do. But yeah, you can check out my Instagram for much more detailed explanation on this.
All right. Audience also want to know your top suggestion for budding entrepreneurs, the book that you'll suggest.
Okay, very nice. So, see, there are a lot of books that I think help you towards entrepreneurship. There is Zero to One, which is the classic book by Peter Thiel, who's an early investor in Uber, Tesla, Facebook. So you can look at that. Then, of course, there is the 1 million. There is the $1 startup, something like that. So that's another very interesting book which talks about innovation at a lowest level. How do you innovation at a low level? And there is this book called. There are a lot of management books. Then I think that also helps toward entrepreneurship. There is biography of Elon Musk, right, which is very interesting biography by Ashley Vance. I'm talking about the Ashley Vance one. Read on that. I think very interesting. Then there is Hit Refresh of on Satya Nadella. So you can read that. Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer. I think you can read that. So many books, guys. I can go on and on because I love reading books. So yeah, but these are the some of the key books which will help you.
True. Harshit wants to know what are the key activities that you'll recommend entrepreneurs to invest their time in?
Key activities that I would, of course, recommend you is first understand your team, right? Spend time with your team, right? Most of us become such big companies that we don't even know who our teams are. So spend time with your team. That is very much important. Socialize, not just on social media, but beyond social media too. I think that is very important. Second thing is know your customers, right? Because a lot of us just keep on producing best without even realizing what our customers actually want. So it is technically best for us, but not the best for customers, which is what that matters, right? So you should know your customers, understand their problems, hear out their complaints, take them very seriously, focus on customer experience. That is another key activity you should spend your time in. And third is self-realization. This is for your personal self. Meditate a lot because entrepreneurship again is a very tough journey in itself. So I meditate a lot. I do mindfulness activities. I try to do that a lot. I try to put my focus on one single point for some time. So invest in these activities. These may look very non-entrepreneurial to you, but these are very personal activities. They help you to know yourself better, understand yourself better. And if you understand yourself better, you are a much better entrepreneur at the end of the day. So yeah, do all of this. I think it would really help you.
Related to this question, Salim wants to know what are the tricks that you discovered to keep yourself focused and productive in your day-to-day busy schedule as an entrepreneur?
Very interesting question. So, Salim, what I do is I followed a few productivity tips for myself. In which first is of course I do maintain a diary. It's always there on my left hand side of the table. So I do maintain a diary wherein I write some of the important things. I plan my schedule. I'm not a very big fan of Google Calendar. I'm still a big fan of writing your schedule on a diary. So I do that, and even I write my goals in it. I maintain a personal journal. These are you read the biographies of the most successful people in the world. They do all of this. 99% of the successful people in the world maintain a diary or a personal journal with them. So I make sure that I do that. Then of course, meditation and mindfulness helps me to become much more productive as well. Then how I do that, I don't go a lot in thought making process. What I do is I would not spend a lot of time in thought making. I would spend a lot of time in execution, right? So I would try and execute things. If let's say I want to talk to a customer, but I don't know how to do it. I want to talk to an investor in my case, I don't know how to do it. So rather than thinking a lot or rather than procrastinating it, I would just call him up and ask straight away, right? So I try and not procrastinate things that way and just do it in straight away, focusing more on the execution aspect rather than the thought process making. And yeah, the third key is to drink lots and lots of water. I think that's another very underrated productivity hack. But if you do drink lots of water, you feel exhilarated throughout your day. So though I don't drink, I don't do follow that rigorously, but I intend to do that, and that's one of the smartest productivity hacks.
All right. Lalit wants to know how you arrange the investors' money, as there are investors who believe in taking low risk and there are who wants to take high risk. So how do you go about investing?
Very interesting question. So, Lalit, how we tell to investors is we don't go them and say, "Sir, give us your money. I don't promise whether returns will be there or not, but please give me your money." If I do in this way, no one would give up money and would say, "Yaar, pagal hai." Okay. So how we pitch to our investors is, "Sir, we are making you invest in startups. startups are a very high risk asset class. So firstly, I would not want that you allocate more than 5% of your entire investment size in startups, right? Maintain a very low number that you want to invest in startups. And sir, risk is there, but I think the value you add, the value you bring in a transaction, how you help the startup to grow, mitigates that risk. So at the end of the day, we are not just looking for your capital, we are looking for your value, your mentorship, your guidance to help startup mitigate that risk of becoming a failure. That's which we tell. And once we do that, investors become much more confident. And then we tell the final line, sir, it's not just your capital. We are also investing in the company. So if you lose out, we lose out too, right? So we are all in this together, right? So let's come on board. We are also helping. We are also trying to help the entrepreneurs. You also come and try to help the entrepreneurs, and let's together make sure that we minimize that risk. Let's together make sure that a startup moves towards success. Make the pitch this way, and becomes much more easier to get their money and to also get them interested to work with fund actively.
Hello, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask, how did you deal with rejection if you faced any, and your tips on doing that? And also, you talked about being at the right time and being at the right place and the importance of it. So, what are your tips on for us to just do that also?
Of course, Akash, that's a very interesting question, specifically the second one, how to be at the right time at the right place. I hope I had an answer to it, because if I knew that what are the right places to be in, I would have been there, right? But see, I have faced rejection in life as well, although, of course, it's not that I haven't faced. A lot of us, of course, become failures firstly, then
Hello,
after,
hello.
before we achieve success. So, yeah. Yep, yep. Just give me 1 more minute to answer this question, then we'll come back to you. So, yeah. So first is, of course, don't look at rejections as rejections. I think if you start looking them as a part of puzzle or the piece of life, then you look at it from a very different perspective. And next thing that you want to do is always make sure that you bounce back from failures. I think that is what is more important. And there's a very beautiful quote which says that at some point in time, all of us break down in our lives, but it just matters that how many of us actually get up and break through, right? So that is the key. So breaking down is common to everyone, but breaking through is what defines the line between success and failure. So always make sure that you break through. Second thing is how to be at the right place at the right time. Just maximize your possibilities. That's the best you can do, right? Just be at so many places at some times that maybe one place would become the right. And even if, let's say, in some places you're getting that instincts, be a very instinct oriented person where you're getting the vibes, where you're thinking that, okay, this is something which may result in that. Go with your gut sometimes. Don't fall out of that place that, okay, I'm just leaving it. It's a very boring event, yeah. It's a very boring party. Let me just move away from here. It has happened with me so many times. I thought it is a very boring party. It's a very boring event. Why am I doing it? Let me go back to my home. And then suddenly there comes a person who was not answering my calls, and I had business for him. And now he is there or she is there, and I go up and I do my business. Even if I do that, my party is successful. I'm at the right place at the right time, right? So don't lose that patience and be there for a while. Stick, like keep holding your ground and stick for a while, and move out, of course, when once you feel the need to. But that's how I think you maximize your chances to become be at the right places.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Akash.
So Priyanshu Goel wants to know that he has an idea but not a product right now. So how he can find a right team?
Sure. So, Pranshu, finding the right team lies in two things. Finding the right person who will do the job for you, someone who has the right skill sets, right expertise. Second thing is someone who's as passionate or even more passionate than you for the idea, right? So these two things actually become the core aspect, the core component of a team. So team can be found out in lots of things. Team can be found out in your college mates. Team can be found out in other students. Let's say if you are from KMC, I believe you are from KMC. So let's say if you are from KMC, finding students outside of KMC as well as a part of your team finding students in other universities, or maybe finding old friends from school. So anyone can be a part of a team, right? But again, you have to look for that. Am I hiring the right person? Am I having the right person on board? And secondly, is that person as passionate as me or even more passionate than me? If the answer to both the questions is yes, you found your team. So pick out those people, and you will not worry, "Oh, how much salary should I give? What kind of opportunities or perks should I give?" Because any person who's willing to take the risk, and the person who's right for the startup will not look for money from day one. Will look for value, exposure, and creating startup together. I think that's the best form of the best team player that you should have on your team.
Okay. Proceeding further, as we all know, it is very easy to keep ourselves motivated when the circumstances are favorable. But Gauri wants to know how to keep oneself motivated when the favorite circumstances are not favorable.
Again, very interesting question. So, see, favorable, unfavorable circumstances are a part of life, right? It's like a stress and a curve, right? So sometimes it would be there, sometimes it won't be there. So again, with every unfavorable circumstance, I just say that it shall pass, right? It shall too pass. Everything which has passed in life, I think this shall too pass. So the key again lies in living that, experiencing that as well. You want to experience the best days in your life, but how would you move on to the best days when you don't live the sorrowful days? So I think the key lies in living the sorrowful days as well, and that's what makes us humans at the end of the day. So I don't look for that. Okay, this is where my back is against the wall. But I think once the back is against the wall, that is the situation in which I think I perform much better than favorable. So the key lies in that, of course, it's time, it shall pass. And secondly, learning your lessons. I've always looked at situations and seen myself that how could I have done this better? Or how could I have adopted this better? I've had tough situations myself too, but I think once I figure out and explore that how could I have done this better, that makes every situation a learning full for me. And with every situation which gives you some form of learning, every situation becomes favorable at the end of the day. So uh, that's what you should try and do something. And that's what I think it has kept me motivated till now.
Right. Next question is, what is the most weird startup that you ever come across or invested in?
Very weird. So I'm not invested in any weird right now, but I keep on having so many weird startup ideas. The first weird was, I think, that someone came to me कि sir बहुत हुआ women empowerment, हम men empowerment start करेंगे. We'll start a men empowerment startup idea because we are also very uh, bad in life. हम लोग के साथ भी बहुत कुछ होता है. So let's start let's start an anti-women empowerment idea. And I was like, why do you want to do that? मतलब आप कैसे करोगे? मैंने कहा चलो ठीक है आप करना चाहते हो, आपकी intention है, but how will you do that? They said we will organize man clubs where we will have people, where we have men from different fraternity join, and they will just come and rant about what happens with women in their lives. So I was like, will people pay for it? They said, sir, people will pay beyond their pocket for this. So I was like, no man, this is not the startup I'm looking for. Again, this goes against the cultures and belief, and it's very weird. And the way he was pitching it, sir, हम बहुत हुआ हमारे साथ, अब हम तोड़ना चाहते हैं ये बंधन. And I was like, नहीं, मेरे को नहीं करना इन्वेस्ट, आप प्लीज कहीं और जाके अपना एम्पावरमेंट फैलाइए.
True. So, next question is, Harshad wants to know whether we should start in a risky business to earn higher returns, or should we start with the ideal one with low returns?
Again, guys, business in itself is so risky. How would you know whether it would be a risky one or a stable one, right? There are so many risks. There are so many outliers which are associated with a business. So I think every business has some amount of risk. You can't decide that, okay, this is a low risk one. Let me start with stable returns. But startups, I'll answer this question. Your question is very valid. Harshit, the startups are the reason it is called startup is because they can give you amazing amounts of return in no point of time if you do them right. That's the difference between a startup and a business. Business is stable. Business is not risky, but business does not give you out of the pocket, out of the box returns. Startups give you that, and for that they account a higher risk. So again, if you want to do a startup, then you'll have to take risk. You have to take investor money. You have to take capital because that's what the nature of companies are. But if you have to take a stable business, you can run it like a stable business, but it won't become like a crazy startup which has almost 25 times the growth in 1 year. It will not become a story like that. So choice is yours. Choice is yours. But I would suggest go in a risky business, right? Because risk is there across everyone. If you want to generate high returns, high risk has to be there. That's the principle in investing, right? High risk, high return.
The session can go on for hours, but we understand that you have a busy schedule. So thank you so much, Aditya sir, for edifying us with your encouraging words. It was great listening to your experience. Now it's the time to bring closure to our event. It's been an immense pleasure having fruitful discussion with you and a bunch of other talented and insightful entrepreneurs who took their time out of their busy schedules to enlighten us with their wisdom and attended this event. A special thanks to our principal ma'am, Dr. Vibha Singh Chauhan, and our convener, Dr. Samir Lama sir, for guiding us and helping us arrange this event. So now, to bring closure to the event, I would like to invite our Vice President, Gagan Mehta, to say a few words and extend a vote of thanks.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good evening to one and all. So as all good things come to an end, so has this seminar. So on the behalf of the cell, I'd like to propose the vote of thanks to our very special guest for the day, Mr. Aditya Arora, also known as the Fard Guy. So we've heard a lot about you in our college days, but finally we got to hear you in person. I hope every one of us takes away something from this seminar, and your words help us in our path. So very thank you, sir, for being here. We are glad you're here. Also, with this 4-day webinar event is also ending today. So it has been a great success indeed. So kudos to the whole team. It has been a teamwork that has brought the success to the event. So uh, congratulations everyone, and thank you everyone for being the part of the event. Also, the people attending this event have been so nice and so kind to us. So thanks to all of you. It was a success only because of every one of you. So that's it, I guess. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so again for being here with us. We are highly obliged to be with you. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Gagan, for your empowering words. Now, finally, on behalf of the entire team of Endure, I would like to express my appreciation to each and every one of you for being here and actively participating throughout the 4-day event. We had a great time with you all. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience.